Welcome to Lead the Ask, the podcast where fundraising gets easier when leadership gets clearer. I'm Kobia, and each week we'll have honest conversations about fundraising, leadership, communication, and strategy to help you build stronger organizations and raise more money for your mission. Today, I want to talk about something I don't think nonprofits do nearly enough. I want you to celebrate your fundraising wins. Celebrate the big gift, the major grant, the campaign milestone. These things are important. The donor who increased their giving, the board member who opened an important door. These are worth celebrating. The company that stepped forward as a new partner, the appeal that exceeded its goal, the fundraising conversation that moved an important relationship forward. These moments matter, and we should be talking about them. But I know why some organizations hesitate a little bit. I recently had a conversation with a client who was a little reluctant to publicly celebrate a large gift. The concern is understandable. They worried if people saw the announcement, they might think, oh, they're fine. They have plenty of money. They don't need my support. Maybe you've had that same concern, that same conversation. You receive a significant gift, and instead of celebrating it fully, you almost whisper about it. You thank the donor privately, perhaps mention it briefly at a board meeting, and then move on. You don't want to look as though you're bragging. You want to make sure the community, they don't misunderstand your financial position, and you certainly don't want other donors to believe their gifts are no longer needed. That fear makes sense, but I think it gets the psychology backwards. People give to organizations that look alive, trusted, effective, and moving forward. They want to join that momentum. They want to be part of something that is working. They want to know that their gift will be handled responsibly and be put to good use. A fundraising win gives them evidence of all of those things. So when someone makes a significant investment in your organization, it signals confidence. It says that someone looked carefully at your mission, your leadership, your work, and your potential and decided this organization was worthy of serious support. That is powerful social proof. The same is true when a foundation awards you a competitive grant and when your campaign reaches an important milestone or when a longtime donor decides to increase their giving. These wins tell the community that people believe in your organization and the impact you're creating. Success does not have to tell donors, we don't need you. When framed well, success tells donors, we're making progress and there's still more to do. Join us. That distinction is incredibly important. A major gift is rarely the end of the story. It's an investment in a much larger vision. A grant may launch a new program, but perhaps it doesn't cover the full cost of delivering that program. A campaign milestone may move you closer to your goal, but it still needs more people to help you cross that finish line. A generous gift might allow you to serve more people, improve a facility, hire a critical staff member, or expand into another community, but there will still be more people to reach and more work to do. That is why the key is not whether to celebrate. The key is how you talk about the win. If your entire message is, we received $100,000, people may be impressed, but they may not understand what the gift matters or what comes next. The dollar amount alone is not the story. The story is what that generosity does and what it makes possible. Instead, you might say, because of this generous $100,000 investment, we can expand our work and reach more families in our community. This gift moves us significantly closer to our goal, and with continued support, we can serve even more people in the year ahead. Now, you've done several things at once. You've honored the donor, first and foremost. You have connected the gift directly to impact, very important. You've demonstrated that progress, and you've made it clear that there is still an opportunity for others to participate. More need, right? Celebration and urgency can live together. You can honor generosity and still invite others to come on in and help out. You can show strength and still communicate need. You can celebrate the momentum and still make it clear that the mission is not finished. In fact, I would argue this is a much stronger fundraising message than simply telling people how urgently you need money. Donors are not inspired by organizations that appear to be dying on the vine, if you will. They do not want to feel as though their gift is being dropped into a bottomless hole or used to rescue an organization with no clear plan. They want to invest in capable people doing meaningful work. That's you. They are inspired by organizations that are building, growing, learning, serving, and creating results. They want to see progress and then understand how they can create more of it. This does not mean pretending everything is perfect. Strong fundraising communication should always be honest. Absolutely. You can acknowledge that the need is growing. You can explain that the organization is at an important turning point. You can talk about the families still waiting for services, the programs they need to expand, the facility that has to be built, and the next phase of the campaign. But you can communicate those needs from a position of strength and possibility rather than scarcity and desperation. There is a significant difference between saying, we are struggling and we need someone to save us, and saying, we're making meaningful progress and we invite you in to help us take that next step together. One message creates fear, the other creates opportunity, and very important difference. The fundraising is at its best when we invite people into opportunity. Celebrating fundraising wins also matter inside your organization. Your staff, they need to see progress. Your board needs to know that its participation is making a difference. Your volunteers want to understand that their work contributes to something bigger than themselves. Fundraising is difficult, relationship-based work. Sometimes months, years of cultivation happens before a significant gift is made. When that gift comes to fruition, you better celebrate the work behind it. Recognize the staff member who built that relationship. Thank the board member who made that introduction. Acknowledge the volunteer who told the organization's story for you. Celebrate that donor who said, yes, of course we would. These moments help build stronger culture of philanthropy because they remind everyone that fundraising is not one person's job. It's the result of leadership, trust, relationships, storytelling, follow through, commitment to the mission. And not every win has to involve an enormous dollar amount. Maybe a first-time donor gave $50. Maybe a long-time donor chose to become a monthly supporter. Maybe a board member who had always been uncomfortable with fundraising finally invited someone to tour your organization. Perhaps a prospective donor agreed to meet for coffee. You could celebrate all of these. Celebrate the behaviors and relationships you want to see repeated, not only the final transaction. Of course, when you publicly announce a gift, make sure you have the donor's permission. Some donors will welcome recognition. Others prefer to remain anonymous. Honoring their wishes is a good part of stewardship. But when you do have permission, don't let fear keep you from sharing that story and doing it well. Name the generosity. Explain the impact. Celebrate the progress. Then invite people into what comes next. You might say something like, this investment will help us serve 100 additional students next year, and we are continuing to build that community support needed to reach even more. You see what that does there? Or you could try something like, with this grant, we've reached 75% of our campaign goal. We are deeply grateful for this momentum, and we invite others in to help us complete this campaign. Another example. Thanks to the generosity of our donors, we exceeded this year's goal, and that support will allow us to expand our services at a time when the need continues to grow. Do you hear what I did with those messages? What they have in common? Each one includes gratitude. Each one includes impact. Each one demonstrates momentum, very important, and each one leaves the door open for someone else to join. That is the formula I want you to remember. Celebrate the generosity, connect to the impact, show the momentum, and clarify what remains. Invite others into that next chapter. Well, before we wrap up, here's our Lead the Ask challenge. Identify one fundraising win your organization has not fully celebrated. It could be a gift, a grant, a campaign milestone, a donor relationship, or a board member's meaningful contribution. Then tell the story using these 5 elements. Celebrate the generosity, connect it to the impact, show the momentum, clarify what remains, and invite others into what comes next. Share it publicly if appropriate, but also share it with your staff and board first. Let the people closest to your organization see the work is moving forward and their leadership matters. Remember, great fundraising doesn't start with donors, it starts with leadership. Fundraising gets easier when leadership gets clear. Thanks for listening to Lead the Ask. If you found this episode valuable, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, share it with someone who's ready to strengthen their fundraising. Until next time, lead with purpose and lead the ask.